as a senator and was thrown out of the 1988 presidential race because he was found to be a pathological, mentally ill liar who had to drop out of the 1988 race. And the liberal journalists of that day made it clear, without doubt, that he should go nowhere near the presidency. Donaldson, who was the big protagonist of Ronald Reagan and the Republicans, basically said, thank God he's been exposed early and he'll never get close to the presidency. I imagine he'd be quite shocked now that he is president and probably more than willing to tell us, I told you so. Well, as we reflect now on his interview with Lester Holt, he didn't keep that promise, or he didn't keep his word for a day. I mean, he started viciously attacking Trump on CBS within one day of calling Trump and kind of suggesting that he was going to tone down his vicious, vile, violence-inspiring rhetoric. They did take their commercials down immediately, which is an admission that when we say they were saying vile, vicious, violence producing or violence encouraging things, nobody's exaggerating. Why would they take the commercials down if they didn't? They sure weren't proud of those commercials, huh? Hitler is going to end democracy. I'm talking about Donald Trump. But of course, the one that comes closest, and I ask you to just step back and say to yourself, if Donald Trump had said this, and God forbid somebody had shot Biden, what would happen if Donald Trump had said, put a target on his back, and then 5 days later somebody shot Biden? What do you think the press would do? What do you think all of those phony communists that are at the center of the arena here, where I just went to look at, CNN and MSNBC, and what do you think would they be saying about Donald Trump? What they'd be saying is that he caused the shooting of Biden. I don't know. Garland might even prosecute him. The things they prosecuted him for are no different than that. They're made-up crimes, one after another. But of course, this is ignored now. And Lester Holt didn't seem to ignore it. Lester Holt asked him about it. He gave an explanation that was as absurd as the things he said during the debate. And then the interview was filled with vile, vicious lies about Trump. He started off with the whole Charlottesville garbage again, saying he said they were people on both sides were good people. Well, if you listen to what he said was absolutely obvious. Of course, there were some people on both sides that were good people. All the white people at that rally weren't white, whatever you want to call them, nationalists or white people engaged in violence. In fact, some of them were white people supporting the other side, as there always are. You know, a lot of these rallies have more white people than black people. It was sure true during 2020 in many cases when it was an Antifa riot and not a Black Lives Matter riot. It depended. They both all ended in violence, destruction, sometimes death, and always fires. But after giving the usual inflammatory, false, and defamatory line about, I decided to run because of Charlottesville. People on both sides were good people. Well, now, you know, the difference here is the guy who hates is Biden. He hates white people. He tells us straight out we are a country that is systemically racist. Now, I don't think Joe knows the meaning of the word systemic. I've known Joe for approaching 35, 40 years. And until he became demented, he was the dumbest man I ever met. I am not exaggerating. I'm not trying to be funny. I'm being as honest as I can be. And if you go ask friends of mine from years ago, they'll tell you that. I'd say you can't imagine. You would not imagine how profoundly dumb this guy is. I didn't know that he was just as profoundly dishonest, dishonorable, and evil. So this man, who has nothing good about him at all, immediately began attacking again over Charlottesville, repeating the lies of Charlottesville. Holt is obviously shocked that he's reverting to the same rhetoric that arguably helped to cause the violence that almost led to the death of Donald Trump. And so let's listen to this. Well, just listen to an excerpt from it over the ridiculous excuse for the comment. Put a target on his back. Let's see if we can play that, guys.
You called your opponent an existential threat on a call a week ago. You said it's time to put Trump in the bullseye. There's some dispute about the context, but I think you appreciate that.
I didn't say crosshairs. I was talking about focus on. Look, the truth of the matter was, what I guess I was talking about at the time was, there was very little focus on Trump's agenda.
Yeah, the term is bullseye.
It was a mistake to use the word. I didn't say crosshairs. I meant bullseye. I meant focus on him. Focus on what he's doing.
Well, I mean, first of all, he sounds as pathetically demented as he did during the debate. If you think that's normal talk, I don't know, maybe you should see a doctor. That's the language, that's the affect of a man who's mentally ill. And he's our president. The explanation is the biggest bunch of garbage you've ever heard. He didn't say crosshairs, he said bullseye, meaning if he said crosshairs, it would have been encouragement to kill him. But bullseye isn't? And he meant focus on him? You think Trump would be given the benefit of that doubt if Biden had been shot? You think if Trump had said bullseye, he'd be given the benefit of the doubt? I mean, even Holt really doesn't give him the benefit of the doubt. Holt is sitting there. Holt likes him. Sorry, Lester, but you're like a sycophant. Tell me you weren't shocked at, a lot of you guys have never gotten to know him. This is not a nice person. A nice person doesn't disown his granddaughter because it might be embarrassing because she was born out of wedlock. He doesn't acknowledge his granddaughter finally, but never see her. To this day, Joe Biden hasn't seen his granddaughter. Now, okay, that's a personal fact. It's a personal fact that shows you're a piece of scum, right? I mean, I knew mafia guys that were better to their family than he is. I knew mafia guys that wouldn't use a injured son, a guy who's addictive prone, to be a bagman for 35 or 40 years. I mean, you got auto bums in Washington to be a bagman for you, Joe. You got to go pick your son. And I got to once more just emphasize to you, because I've been doing it with people at the convention, even Republicans who don't know this. I got to show it to them. I said, do you know there's unbelievable, strong evidence that Joe Biden got money? Not only is it strong, it's totally admissible under a time-honored exception of the hearsay rule called an admission. It's a text from Hunter to his daughter saying, for 30 years, I've had to give half my salary to my father. Now, why in the name of God would he have to give half his salary to his father if the money wasn't his father's? And, of course, that's the explanation that has eluded us from the beginning because we were being naive and stupid. Like China is going to put $1.5 billion into the Biden equity fund made up of Hunter, his partner, Devin Archer, who went to jail, his other partner, the son of the Secretary of State, and finally, Whitey Bulger's nephew was their partner for 7 years. And that is covered up by the press. Even the conservative press doesn't tell you that Whitey Bulger's nephew was a partner of the Bidens, because it pretty much makes the case that I've been making for 5 or 6 years that they are a crime family in every sense of the word, including partnering with people who are part of crime families and partnering with our worst enemy. So that's part of it. Now let's take a look at kind of Lester Holt's amazement about this. Now, this is a guy that is so up Biden's you-know-what, it's like embarrassing. But I got to believe if you could get him to do an honest interview, he's got to be in a state of shock. And he's beginning to realize what started to come out, starting with that debate. What we've been saying about Biden is all true. It's all true. Every file that I have of every crime that he committed is absolutely true. Most of it's backed up by documents, tape recordings, video recordings, bank records. And this is the reason they hate me, because I got all this out before he even ran for president. That's why they've been illegally surveilling me, all kinds of things. So let's listen to Lester for a minute.
Is it acceptable that you have still not heard, at least publicly, from the Secret Service director?
Oh, I've heard from him.
But have you heard from her publicly?
Publicly. I've sat down in a situation room downstairs. The Secret Service, the FBI, the national security agencies, the Homeland Security, all the major elements.
I mean, really, first of all, I don't know if you noticed it, but he said, I've heard from him. And Lester Holt very, very generously just changed the pronoun to her. That idiot's Secret Service director is a female. Pathetic female who should have been fired that day. But now I don't know if that's just a mistake or he really, I mean, for 2 years he didn't know Austin's name. He didn't know who his Secretary of Defense was. It probably means the confusion in pronouns and sex. He hasn't been really in contact with it, even though there's just been a very, very serious assassination attempt, one of which hasn't existed, that hasn't happened since Ronald Reagan. And that entire interview was Biden at his worst. Biden attacking Trump and raising issues that would encourage a madman to try to kill him. And to try to say that the rhetoric is the same on both sides is nonsense. Yeah, sure, there's rhetoric on the Republican side, but it's nothing in comparison to he's like Hitler. He's going to take away our democracy. The suggestions are, he constantly talks about, one of the times he said he was guilty of rape. The fact is he's not. The conviction was a sexual abuse. The rape charge was thrown out. And of course, the whole thing is ridiculous. It's all about a alleged sexual assault in the most crowded department store in New York in the middle of the day, done by a guy who was one of the most famous people and well-known people in New York, in a situation where Donald Trump couldn't move through a department store like Bergdorf Goodman without being followed by large numbers of people, like I am. I can't go anywhere in New York without 10 people following me. Most of them like me, some don't, but they follow me. They want an autograph, a picture, or maybe every once in a while they want to spit at me. But I couldn't go into Bergdorf's, and not that I would do it, but take some woman into a relatively public place and abuse her without knowing that everybody had seen me. And it doesn't occur to anyone that the reason she hasn't given a date, like a day or a year, because it didn't happen. Her lawyer probably told her, don't do a day or a year. Because if you do, there's about a 6 or 7 out of 10 chance he wasn't in New York that day. If you were to make a charge like that about me back then, or let's say in the 2000s, when I traveled to over 90 foreign countries, I was out of the city more than I was in the city. So you pick a day, I'd probably be in the UK or in Texas or you better do a lot of research to make sure you get me in the city. Also, I do not understand for the life of me how you could possibly prosecute the case without giving the defendant a date so he can defend himself. Just like it is a completely outrageous and a complete desecration of our Constitution to have indicted him and not tell him what the crime is, or to render a non-unanimous verdict. This is the first time since Richard the Lionheart somebody was convicted on serfs in 14th century England got more justice than Donald Trump, or but for that matter me, because we live in Biden's dictatorship. And the idea that the attempt on Trump's life was going to change him is completely belied by the whole interview. He is the same evil, vicious, lying old crook that he's always been. He is a pathetic human being, and he is a disgrace to the United States of America. And he's gotten more of our people killed than any president other than in a time of war. Just think of Afghanistan. And you don't have to listen to me. You can listen to the Gold Star families. Those kids didn't have to die. And when they came back, they didn't have to be greeted by that old bum doing this. Like I don't have enough time to be at this. I mean, I'm the one who killed them, but I don't have the time to be here to honor them. He runs away from his crimes. And they've covered him all this time. And now they're turning. They're not turning because they care about you, people of this America. They're turning because they hate Trump pathologically. Sick. But Trump cut right through them with that to the American people. We're going to talk about that when we come back with Dr. Maria.
I'm excited to announce we're having a huge MyPillow spring sale. And here's a few examples. Buy one of our MyPillow 2.0s, you get another MyPillow 2.0 absolutely free. Made with cooling technology, the best pillow ever just got even better. And this just in, 9 brand new colors and styles of our Percale bed sheets. They're made with the finest long staple cotton, and now you can save 50% or more. That's as low as $24.98. And for the first time this year, I'm bringing you our My Slippers and Sandals for as low as $25 a pair. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get your MyPillow 2.0s. Buy one, get one free. Percale sheets as low as $24.98. My Slippers and Sandals as low as $25 a pair. And for a limited time, when you order $75 or more, your entire order ships absolutely free.
Mike Lindell here, and like you, I see our country being destroyed daily. We face massive economic issues, and I can tell you from firsthand experience, there are people in power who threaten the values that have made our country great. Well, I've been a believer in gold and silver for a long time, and I've searched for years for a partner that shares my values. Well, Genesis Gold Group showed me how easy it is to protect your IRA, 401k, or your retirement with gold and silver. Their faith-driven approach to service and stewardship is one that stands out from the rest. So call Genesis Gold Group now at 1-800-200-GOLD. That's 1-800-200-4653, or go to LindellGoldRush.com now.
The beef industry takes another blow as Cricket Burgers win America's best burger for the 4th year in a row. This comes after many major beef processing plants have shut their doors for good.
The beef industry continues to take a dive as cricket the insatiable insects have now overtaken cows as America's favorite animal. A market change that has even caused McDonald's to
cricket have cows are now a species, which means they will no longer be seeing beef cows to be formally indicted. They do have crickets.
And here's why that might not be such a bad thing. Consider this. Also, harmful Introducing the all-new Prepper Bar. These 62.2 gram bars, perforated and easily broken into 3 denominations, will fit all of your needs. Perfect for asset protection from inflation, economic turmoil, or use it for bartering or trade. Prepper bars make an ideal gift for precious metal lovers. Available in gold and silver, these slim Prepper bars fit neatly into your wallet and can be used in any situation. As gold and silver prices surge and economists predict shortages, now is the time to secure your precious metal with Prepper bars. The only bar divisible into 3 different sizes for maximum utility, tradability, and proudly mined and minted in the United States, these Prepper bars are IRA eligible and will help you diversify your wealth. To order your own Prepper bars, go to www.frankspeechbar.com. That's www.frankspeechbar.com.
This is Rudy Giuliani back with you. I have Dr. Maria with me. And today
Mayor.
Yeah, go ahead.
Most people know, besides being friends, besides being president of your media company, I'm also your medical provider. And I was deluged with calls today saying, is Rudy okay? Is Mayor Giuliani okay? I didn't know what happened. Tell me what happened to you.
Well, I fell. I tripped.
Okay.
So I was over at the Republican convention with Ted, and we were taking B-roll pictures. We were really want to demonstrate that the communist news networks, CNN, MSNBC, NBC, CBS, ABC, the ones who hate Donald Trump, and helped to create the atmosphere that, whether it did contribute to the shooting or not, we can't say for sure, but it certainly didn't help. And they were all sitting there in the middle. They got the best spots, in other words.
Oh, yes.
And all the conservative networks, with the exception of Fox and Newsmax,
right?
but they're pushed to the side, you know.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah,
I haven't been over there yet.
But, I mean, I have spoken at this doesn't come from an amateur. I have spoken at numerous conventions, 5 at least in a row, and those center spots are the best spots, of course, right? The center. So the president is here talking, right? So Fox, they're kind of like on both sides. Fox and Newsmax are over here.
Like next to each other?
No, to the right.
To the right? Okay.
It's strange. Fox, Newsmax, Fox. Like Newsmax separates 2 Fox booths. It must be Fox and Fox Network.
Do you know how
then
they
you have Newsmax,
okay.
But they're off on the side. On the left side is another Newsmax. But way over on the left side, maybe that's the Newsmax cable thing.
Newsmax 2.
So they are there, but they just make it, and they have undesirable sightlines in comparison to the left-wing communist, Trump-hating media that helped to create the atmosphere that may have provoked the attempt to murder him, and certainly creates a lot of people out there that like to murder him.
Well,
Meanwhile, the other conservative, all the other conservative networks and podcasts are consigned to a separate building quite a bit of ways. Like
Arena. So listen to this. Yesterday, I'm working with the Frank Speech booth. I'm helping you. I noticed that the RNC chairperson is being interviewed.
Well, that's why I'm bringing it up.
Yeah,
you got it out there yesterday.
Our booth, and so I'm so respectful. I really am. But I asked the RNC chairperson Watley. I said, can you tell me why the conservative media stations are in a separate building, but yet CNN, MSNBC are over in the main building? He says, I don't know. aren't you the chair? And then I said, well, can you tell me who
like
makes
a Biden
that
administration
decision? And he says, I don't know. So Emerald Robinson, our colleaage here on Frank's Speech,
she's going to be on in a little while.
Yeah, she's got it on her Twitter. I put it out on my Twitter at Maria Ryan
Did I tweet it out?
I don't know if
I did.
Well,
I did.
your person may
I think
have.
I tweeted it out this morning.
Okay.
I tweeted it out to all my tweets.
Your tweets.
Wherever they are. Followers, my friends.
You are so experienced with conventions. This is my first convention. And is it unusual, a Monday night, that they announced the VP candidate?
No.
That's not unusual.
Oh, I mean, I'm glad you brought that up because that is news. First of all, I'm fine. What actually happened is...
No, the VP.
No, I want to answer the question I never answered before about how am I?
Oh, yes.
Doctor.
Yes.
I'm fine. Here's Ted right over here. He can tell you I'm fine.
Ted, you didn't push him, did you?
He did. I wish I could say it was like CNN or MSNBC, but there was no I had already finished beating them up. So I was walking and I saw that Newsmax sign that was sandwiched in like
yeah.
You know? And
you were filming, right?
I had my.
Is that the 360, by the way?
No. This is the Pocket 3. This is fabulous. This will give you movie.
You're such technical.
This will give you movie quality stuff. So I saw a Newsmax thing. There was the one sandwich was in back of me. This one was here. I'm actually going to ask Ted for the 360 camera so I could get both. So I was thinking of a couple of things at once, and I was going to sit down in one of the chairs so I could get a perfect shot. I didn't realize that there's like a step down.
That's what Ted said. There was a small incline.
And if
it happens to anybody.
And if you watch the whole thing, I got up immediately and just continued to walk and continue to take pictures. I did not think that you were a male, like Trump thinks, like Biden thinks that his Secret Service director is a male, and it's a female. I didn't think that I saw Franklin Roosevelt on television reading the funny papers.
There's nothing wrong with you.
Since Franklin Roosevelt has been dead for 3 years. I actually thought I was hurt. I felt pretty bad.
Oh, really? Really? Oh, the dip was that much?
No,
so you guys can't see Ted, but he's going like this. So the dip was that much in the floor.
No, it was.
Wow.
So let's say it looked like a bad fall, but it turned out to be a totally non-consequential.
Well, we're glad you're okay, Mayor Giuliani.
My ankles are fine.
And so many people were worried about you.
Well, wasn't that nice? And I do have a bad knee, so I mean. I have a knee that needs a knee replacement. I've had one operated on.
It's needed for like
the other one,
5
and
years.
I was going to go this Christmas, and I couldn't maybe because of the campaign. And this I'm going to go now. Right after, I'm going to treat myself to a knee operation after Trump wins. How's
tonight's
that?
Speakers, I know one of the big ones is Vivek Ramaswamy, and I believe.
One of our favorites.
Here on Frank's Speech, when Vivek speaks, we are going to go over to Vivek. And
I hope so.
So you all can listen to that. But who else is scheduled for tonight? Do you know?
Well, I think, actually, I think Vivek is going to be a great speaker.
Vivek like cake. He used to always think of that. Vivek like cake.
DeSantis tonight and Haley.
And I know Haley's tonight. Actually, I did know that. Miranda Devine let me know.
I would say the most important thing, and I hope it happens correctly, is that it's not what she says. She'll be fine. She's a professional. It's how the
audience,
the way we treat her.
Yeah.
And I hope we treat her with respect.
You know what? I can almost guarantee she will be. She'll get claps. It's not going to be the hurrah like when President Trump came out of the tunnel Monday night. But I think people are going to be absolutely respectful.
I sure hope so. I'd like to throw out the press right before, go out there and say to them, the best thing you can do for Trump right now, give her a nice round of applause.
Yeah.
And you don't have to go crazy.
Yeah.
In fact, it would sound stupid if you went crazy.
Well,
but just give her a respectful round of applause, appreciating the fact that she's making a step.
Yep.
And Donald has made a step. President Trump has made a step.
Yeah, you can't call him Donald.
I know.
In public.
I don't call him that in private.
When
I play golf with him or watch him play golf, I call him President Trump.
Yeah. I always make analogies to different things. My brain just goes there. So when we were saying give respectful applause to Nikki Haley, it reminds me of the Yankee-Red Sox feud. I'm a huge, avid Red Sox fan.
Can you imagine?
You're a huge, avid Yankee fan. And Derek
to the point
Jeter's
of insanity.
last game was at my beloved Fenway Park. And what did our people do? They stood up and gave him a standing ovation.
Yeah, just like
because
we would for Big Papi.
Yeah, appreciate baseball. You appreciate good players, and that's the first thing that went in my mind. I think the same thing's going to happen with Nikki. I think people are going to be very respectful.
I hope so. I mean, I did get a couple of questions about her. Maybe from the few Republican reporters they allow there, but who said to me, well, maybe people shouldn't. I mean, she was very nasty.
But we don't have to be.
No, I said, no. You got to, look, I've been in politics for too long. And I remember in 2016 when Cruz wouldn't concede.
Yeah.
I think I said to the people around me some awful things about him, and I would never talk to him again. I'm going to hate him, whatever. And within 2 weeks, I saw him again, and I consider him a very good friend.
Oh my God! What a great patriot!
And I think he proved himself. I mean, the guy got over it, and he was extremely not only loyal to Trump, but loyal to the United States. And during our worst times, when they were battering Trump, in 2021 and 22, he was really tough voices.
Yeah.
And I love Ted Cruz.
And I don't know what his...
I'd love to see him as Chief Justice.
No lie, Rudy. I was just about to say
Do you know that my friend Alan Dershowitz says that he was one of the 5 smartest students he had at...
Wow, what a compliment.
And this is when, before Alan was, defending Trump on and off. This is when Alan was pure Democrat. And he said, I disagree with Cruz completely. I think he's all wrong politically. But I got to say, he's probably he could be the smartest student I have. He's certainly one of the 5 smartest.
And you can tell that. I love the way he speaks. He's always fairly calm. I really, really respect Ted Cruz.
Vance is a very smart guy, too. People are going to find out.
I want to get to know him. I was not thrilled with that pick. I
got to tell you, it's at a high level of intellectuality. He's a very smart guy.
I'm sure he is, right? He built a big company.
Summa cum laude.
Yeah.
I mean, this is going to be tough on Word Soup Lady.
Oh my God! Can you? Oh my God! Can you imagine the debate between J.D. Vance and Kamala Harris?
I don't know you. J.D. is very smart.
This should be a pay-per-view thing.
You need a trial lawyer for this. You need somebody who knows how to trap someone. I want to trap her. So J.D. will win this debate for me. If he gets her to cackle 2 or 3 times. If he can get her to see it, you just did a normal laugh.
Yeah.
Laugh again.
I have a hearty laugh. My employees used to tell me, Dr. Maria, we knew where you were because of your laugh. I can't you just fake laugh. I don't know.
You got a strong laugh, but it's a normal laugh.
Thank you.
People are laughing all around you at different times, but you don't hear.
No, it is bizarre.
What is that? I mean, is it... We know what the really terrible thing is we know what's wrong with Biden. He has dementia, and it's getting more and more serious and extremely embarrassing. But what's wrong with her? She talks like a 5-year-old.
Obviously, I want people who are qualified to be in jobs. When women do well, I love it. But I don't want women to be put into a position just because they are a woman or a particular color.
Well, she was picked only because she's a woman.
I talk to a lot of women, whether they vote Democrat, vote Republican, and I don't know one person who says that they are proud that Kamala Harris is our vice president, because we want someone who is very bright, who's thoughtful, who stands on values, and she'll go with whatever she's told to go with, which to me is the most dangerous person.
I'll tell you one thing about our bench, right? Republican bench.
Yeah, we sure got a big deep one.
Tonight,
right?
You're going to see it. I mean, you're going to see extraordinarily talented people.
You missed Carrie Lake just spoke too.
Oh well, Carrie Lake is the best.
Yeah.
And I had on one of the biggest Republican voices in Arizona.
Oh, Wendy Rogers.
Yeah, last night, and she thinks Carrie will pull it out.
She does. Yeah. Of course, she knows the temperature there.
And I mean, Carrie's. It's a tragedy that she wasn't elected. But in any event, you will see Haley is very smart. DeSantis, very, very smart.
Yeah.
Vivek, really smart.
Vivek, I mean, Rudolph.
Compared to these broken down dummies that he has. Somebody said to me when Mayorkas said that they had the right detail and they would not ask for more people by Trump. Do I think Mayorkas is telling the truth? And I said, why would he start now? I mean, the guy hasn't told the truth since the day he showed up.
Can I switch gears a little bit, because I want to pick your huge legal brain here. So I had Maureen Bannon on my show earlier today on Frank Speech TV, and I was thinking, I said to her, Judge Cannon just did a great brief 95 pages of why she's dismissing the case against President Trump. The FBI fooled with the documents. We don't know if they put stuff in, took stuff out, and bigly, it was against the Constitution to appoint Jack Smith. Basically, right? That's the
100% nice and easy, very simple to figure out. You got to be a dummy not to, and the case will not be overturned.
Now, here's my question. Steve Bannon.
Yeah.
Is he in jail because he did not respond to a subpoena for the J6 committee, which we were told was unconstitutional, which it's in some brief somewhere that it was unconstitutional. They destroyed files, and Maureen basically said, yeah, and it's on appeal, but they still decided.
Yeah.
What is your theory why they put him in jail?
Because they are fascists.
Or prison. Before
because they're not the people who did it are not Americans. They're fascists.
Yeah. Before Steve went in, he told me, "Oh, Maria, it's not jail, it's prison."
No.
I don't know the difference. Tell you the truth.
I used to run the Bureau of Prisons, and I know Dan Berry better than most because I used to put a lot of my cooperating witnesses there, or the people I wanted to make cooperating witnesses. It has good parts and bad parts, and he's not in a good part. And they could easily have put him on the farm. That actually is no prison is a good experience.
Right.
But it would be a better experience. They are not treating him well.
Yeah. They are not?
They're not. No. It's Biden.
Oh, I thought you meant you had inside knowledge that inside the prison.
No. I know they put him in a place that a guy who is serving a sentence for a misdemeanor should not be in.
Yeah.
And that the Bureau of Prisons people have off the record said it comes from the Biden shithead Garland.
And look at Merrick Garland, right? He does not respond to a subpoena.
Piece of garbage.
He didn't respond to a subpoena. Nothing happens to him.
Which subpoena is more important? The one to Bannon for a bunch of records they have anyway, and they ended up destroying, where Bannon is saying, I'll give it to you, but the president is exerting executive privilege. Or the subpoena to Garland, which right now is of enormous importance to the American people. So everyone is worried or concerned about the fact that our president is non-compass menace.
Okay. Layman's term. What does that mean?
Crazy.
Okay.
Nuts. He doesn't know who the hell he is. He thinks half the time he thinks he's here, and half the time he thinks someplace else. When he's in Cambodia, he thinks he's in Colombia.
Yeah.
He thinks Franklin Roosevelt's alive sometimes, or his father.
He thinks his uncle was.
He thinks his uncle got a Purple Heart that nobody can find. He thinks his other uncle was eaten by a bunch of people in a country that now is very angry at him.
Yeah.
And haven't eaten people for 50 years. They're very insulted because they stopped eating people 150 years.
Yeah, we stopped eating people.
No, we haven't eaten anybody 150 years, and we didn't eat your uncle. And we don't have Biden leftovers here. I mean, what the hell? But in any event, the thing is clear as I never understood how even the crooked judges on that unbelievably disgusting D.C. court could do that. Here it is, simple as hell. This is an easy legal principle to establish. On J6, to have a properly constituted committee, it has to have a properly constituted committee that can issue a subpoena, which is a very important legal process.
Right.
And usually you don't want Congress to issue subpoenas. That's a law enforcement tool, not a Congress tool.
Right.
Congressional tool. You have to have members of the minority party, fully constituted members of the minority party on the committee in a reasonable number.
Because there could be abuse.
So why? Because number one, you don't want Congress to be handing out subpoenas willy-nilly to start with. They're not prosecutors. It could become easily political for Congress to do it. People who are elected every 2 years are all of a sudden exercising unbelievable power of subpoena, right? So they want minority control over it. So McCarthy recommended 5 Republicans. Thompson turned them all down.
Well, isn't it Nancy Pelosi at the time?
Well, yeah.
She's the one that said no.
Thompson
she handpicked
took the heat
Kissinger, the crybaby.
Well, they volunteered
and
for
the
it
traitor
to screw.
Liz.
Well, they
Cheney.
volunteered for it to screw Trump. But
Yep.
they would never. They weren't recommended by the minority leader.
Yeah.
So they were just members of Congress, not members of the minority party.
Rudy, is that the piece that made it unconstitutional?
Not unconstitutional, illegal. Illegal. It's completely illegal. They had no power of subpoena. Now, since they let people out of subpoenas that were properly constituted, like Holder, like all of the IRS people who tortured conservatives, they just don't enforce these subpoenas. The whole thing is completely, like all of the prosecutions here, of me, of Professor Eastman, I met a guy today I never met before. He's a co-defendant in my Arizona case. He said, my name is so-and-so. I'm one of the alleged phony electors.
Are you serious?
He said, I'm a co-conspirator with
that
you.
Is
I said, it
too
was
funny.
a hell of a conspiracy since we never met each other. He said, yeah, I know. He said, it's really, really funny. It's very embarrassing, he said, to be prosecuted by criminals.
Yes.
I said,
and disheartening.
Yeah.
So we've talked about this a number of times on our former radio show, how you have seen the legal system and the justice system that you were so entrenched in go corrupt. And I saw that with healthcare during the pandemic, and it didn't feel good.
Yeah, I mean, we both share that because we both love what we did.
Yeah.
I've done many different things. I've run a security business. I'm on radio and television now. I love it. I love doing this. I sure as heck love being mayor.
Yeah.
But I mostly love being a lawyer.
Yeah. That's who you are.
And as mayor, half the time I was my own lawyer with, and also because I drew great lawyers.
Yes.
You know, one time my office was like a U.S. attorney's office. We could probably prosecute more crimes than
Yeah, you attracted the best.
No, I had like 15 assistant U.S. attorneys working for me. But these are very smart people. These are very honorable people. They're good people. Until the Biden administration completely destroyed the Justice Department.
It started with Obama.
Garland should burn in hell.
It started with Obama and continued deep state under Trump. I don't know if he didn't know it, wasn't aware, people fooled him. I don't know. I think it was so deep, he didn't realize it. I think the country didn't realize how deep the deep state was.
I don't think Sessions, I mean, I know there's a lot of controversy about Sessions, the AG, the first AG that Trump had so many problems with. But Sessions didn't realize it. Sessions went in there thinking it was the same Justice Department he was in under Ronald Reagan. I helped to appoint Sessions. Yeah. I was his boss. I was the Associate Attorney General. Of course, he was selected by the senators and by President Reagan, but I'm the one who handled his entire nomination. And not only that, I probably co-wrote and spoke on Donald Trump's behalf 20, 30 times with him. It was a big shock to me that he had those problems. I did want to point out, though, and I think we found it, and I feel bad that I didn't remember this. You know how I love my memory, because I guess it proves for me I'm not Biden, and I can remember little details of things 20, 30, 40, and 50 years ago, or at conventions, or Kennedy being promulgated first at the 56th convention as vice presidential candidate against Kefauver. I had forgotten a detail about the Reagan assassination attempt, which I should remember because I was the Associate Attorney General who handled it. And not only handled it, I spent months studying it afterwards.
Well, aren't you the one that arrested Hinckley?
Yeah, I arrested Hinckley with Judge Webster. Personally secured the courthouse. Personally. I personally, and a director of the FBI. So just think of these lazy jerk Biden people, like the head of the Secret Service who doesn't know what the hell's going on. The director of the FBI and the third-ranking official in the Justice Department. Before they brought Hinckley into open court in the District of Columbia, we had the entire building evacuated, and we personally searched it. For 2 hours, we walked through the whole damn thing. Because my Attorney General, my boss, who I respected, And we were all in a state of, fear and shock because of what happened to our hero, right?
Yeah.
Said to me, I don't want another Lee Harvey Oswald.
Oh, I thought you said that.
No,
I thought that was attributed
Bill Smith
to you.
said that. Bill Smith said to me, Rudy, Bill Webster, I want you both to go. And we said, of course, boss, we'll go. We'll make sure. I mean, I don't want to wake up the next morning and think that there wasn't a stone that was unturned to make sure anything happens to this guy. And I had no idea how I'd feel when he walked into the courtroom. I mean, just a few hours earlier, he tried to kill my hero. It's very similar. I mean, we were at the beginning of the Reagan administration. He was showing such great promise, and he was our only hope. Our country was headed for hell at the time.
It was terrible under
Books
Jimmy
written
Carter.
about the American empire is over. America's
I remember the
finished.
long gas lines.
Yeah. And here's a man who's beginning to turn it around, like doing miracles already. And maybe he's dead. So there was a great deal of anger about this guy Hinckley. And Bill and I went to the court. And we sat, we tried to stick in a non-conspicuous place, but it's pretty hard not to be. And the first thing I did was look in his eyes when he came in. I looked at Bill, who was a judge, a federal judge, and a prosecutor, like I was a prosecutor. And we both looked at each other. We didn't say anything in court, and we walked out. I said, when you looked at me, Bill, you had the same view? Absolutely. The guy's totally nuts. Completely gone. Remember, this wasn't political at all. He didn't want to kill Reagan. He wanted to kill a president. He tried to kill Carter.
A lot of people don't know that.
He wanted to kill Carter because he wanted to be a hero.
It was all
for
about
Jodie Foster.
Jodie Foster in that movie Taxi.
Taxi Driver.
Taxi Driver with Robert De Niro, who I'll never watch another Robert De Niro movie. It is and was.
Yeah. One of the superior actors of our generation.
I do remember now seeing an interview with Jodie Foster saying she repeatedly got letters from him. She got phone calls. She actually engaged. It must have been very easy to get Starr's phone number at one time because she actually answered the phone and told him to stop calling her. And, the Ronald Reagan thing, I remember it.
But you remember he waved too. Do we have the video of Ronald Reagan? Were we able to find the video of Ronald?
It's a still image.
Well, let's do the still image. Let's show it. There it is. That's after he was shot.
Yeah.
What does that look like? Who does that look like?
Yeah. But, it's not funny. So Ronald Reagan, he does not know he's shot. He gets pushed in that car by the Secret Service because they knew get him under control. Obviously, Brady's on the ground with his head bleeding and shots fired. And it's in the limousine. And I only know this. I wasn't an eyewitness.
Well,
I was very young. You
in my report?
Yeah, you wrote it in the report. But I saw an
really
incredible documentary with the physicians at the time. Ronald Reagan spoke about it. In the limousine, they weren't going to go to a hospital.
They were headed right. They pushed him in a limousine. They thought the injuries were superficial or not that serious, and they take him right to the White House and let the White House doctor decide what should be done.
Yeah, they didn't know he was shot.
So they were closer. Well, they weren't really, but they were close to the White House, and so they turned around and they headed for the White House. And about pretty shortly into the trip, thank God, Reagan said, "Hey, how come you hit me so hard? It really hurts here," he said to the agent. The agent, I guess, worried that maybe he hit him too hard, takes a look at him, sees blood coming out of his mouth.
Yeah.
And blood coming out over here, all over his shirt. And he says, "Look." And when President Reagan explains it in his biographies and books, he said, "I started feeling pain then."
Yeah.
He said, "I didn't."
The adrenaline.
He said, "It's the strangest thing. All of a sudden, I'm in great pain."
That's very typical.
And he said, "I had some pain. I complained. And I thought it was a bump, not a shooting. And then when I saw the blood, and I realized I had a bullet near my chest, I felt a lot of pain."
And just medically, I was fascinated with the cardiothoracic surgeons talking about it because they couldn't find the bullet. And he was in critical condition. We all saw him get pushed in the limousine, and we thought he's okay.
Yeah,
and then later to find out he was on death's door.
Yeah, and he was kidding around. I mean, he's like Trump.
But he did a Trump-like thing after surgery, and he felt better in his pajamas, his hospital pajamas. He waved to the people outside with his beloved Nancy.
Because both of them are leaders.
Yes.
I wrote about I not only was a leader, I've spent a lot of time studying it. I wrote about it. I've taught it. A leader immediately thinks of his people. How are they going to react?
Yeah.
When 9/11 happened, I said to myself, I can't react. My best friend, I might find out, died, or my best friend's wife, and I got to act like, not that it doesn't matter, but I can't cry, I can't break down, I can't take a break. I've got to, people are watching me, and they are going to react based on that. We'll be right back. I want to thank Dr. Maria for helping, and we'll talk a little more about the convention when we come back, and then we'll have Emerald with us very shortly.
Excellent.
I'm excited to announce we're having a huge MyPillow spring sale, and here's a few examples. Buy one of our MyPillow 2.0s, you get another MyPillow 2.0 absolutely free. Made with cooling technology, the best pillow ever just got even better. And this just in, 9 brand new colors and styles of our Percale bed sheets. They're made with the finest long staple cotton, and now you can save 50% or more. That's as low as $24.98. And for the first time this year, I'm bringing you our My Slippers and Sandals for as low as $25 a pair. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get your MyPillow 2.0s. Buy one, get one free. Percale sheets as low as $24.98. My Slippers and Sandals as low as $25 a pair. And for a limited time, when you order $75 or more, your entire order ships absolutely free.
Mike Lindell here, and like you, I see our country being destroyed daily. We face massive economic issues, and I can tell you from firsthand experience, there are people in power who threaten the values that have made our country great. Well, I've been a believer in gold and silver for a long time, and I've searched for years for a partner that shares my values. Well, Genesis Gold Group showed me how easy it is to protect your IRA, 401k, or your retirement with gold and silver. Their faith-driven approach to service and stewardship is one that stands out from the rest. So call Genesis Gold Group now at 1-800-200-GOLD. That's 1-800-200-4653, or go to LindellGoldRush.com now.
The beef industry takes another blow as Cricket Burgers win America's best burger for the 4th year in a row. This comes after many major beef processing plants have shut their doors for good.
The beef industry continues to take a dive as cricket skyrocket in demand. The insatiable insects have now overtaken cows as America's favorite animal. A market change that has even caused McDonald's to
cricket have cows are now officially species as Americans say we're no longer receiving beef cows to be put on the endangered species list.
And here's why that might not seem such a bad thing. Consider this. Cows are harmful to the environment.
Cows will go extinct.
Introducing the all-new Prepper Bar. These 62.2 gram bars, perforated and easily broken into 3 denominations, will fit all of your needs. Perfect for asset protection from inflation, economic turmoil, or use it for bartering or trade. Prepper bars make an ideal gift for precious metal lovers. Available in gold and silver, these slim Prepper bars fit neatly into your wallet and can be used in any situation. As gold and silver prices surge and economists predict shortages, now is the time to secure your precious metals with Prepper bars. The only bar divisible into 3 different sizes for maximum utility, tradability, and proudly mined and minted in the United States, these Prepper bars are IRA eligible and will help you diversify your wealth. To order your own Prepper bars, go to www.frankspeechbar.com. That's www.frankspeechbar.com.
This is Rudy Giuliani back again at the Republican convention, and I have Cenk Uygur with me, which you're probably surprised about. But Cenk is the co-host of Young Turks, which is a remarkably successful. What would you not a podcast, a live stream, a podcast,
show, online show,
television show, right?
Yeah. So and
very left wing, I should tell you. Like, this should be a shock that you see him here. You're going to see me on his show later, which will also be a shock. He also had you had Mike on before.
Yeah, we had Mike Lindell.
I heard you guys laughing.
Yeah. We look, we're friendly guys. We get along with everybody, but at the same time, we're strong and honest about our opinions.
It should be that way, Cenk. It should be. It used to be that way. My gosh. I mean, back in the 80s, so I would debate with Democrats. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, I get a big kick out of it. Debated
it sharpened
my
mind.
Debated Tucker Carlson, Ann Coulter, Dinesh D'Souza, Ben
names.
Shapiro. We've done it all. I've debated almost everybody on both sides. Because now I'm debating Democrats too, because they want to keep Joe Biden in the race.
Well, so this is where we completely come together. I do not understand how Joe Biden, from the point of view of the country, can remain president. I don't understand it. As a political matter, I'd love to have him remain president because I'd rather run against the known than the unknown. You could nominate somebody and people say, "Oh my God," and then all of a sudden the person turns out to be terrific, or not. We don't know. It's a gamble, but let's see. What do you think is going to happen? I mean, you're fighting very hard. You're fighting very, very hard to get another candidate because you believe Biden can't win. But you tell me.
Yeah. So I like what you're saying, Mayor, because you should put country above party. And you're right. If I'm a Republican, I want Biden to stay in the race because he's going to get crushed. And so the fact that you're saying that he shouldn't stay in the race is a credit to you, okay? Because I think both candidates have massive problems. But when it comes to Biden, I ran him against him in the primary on a wild, long shot campaign. Why? And by the way, I got up to 2%, as you know, in a presidential candidate campaign.
That's something, yeah.
It registered.
So where did you run? Where did you run through?
I ran through Super Tuesday.
How many states? Oh, really?
Yeah. And so, now why did I do that? Did I think that 2% could get there? I mean, sometimes it happens. Trump started at 1%, right? But mainly it wasn't that. It was mainly because I knew Joe Biden was going to lose. Because we've been involved in covering politics for a long, long time. And nobody that's in the 30s, an incumbent in the 30s, as you know, Mayor, is very, very unlikely to win in terms of favorability. And then he's losing swing states. I said, look, I think he's in such bad shape, he's going to lose non-swing states. So why do we want to go with our weakest candidate? And if you ask any real American, they say, what's wrong with Joe Biden? He's too old. And they've been saying that for years and years. Why not run your strongest candidate?
Right.
And my point was, if I do well against Biden, people aren't going to say, "Oh yeah, let Cenk win the Democratic nomination." They're going to then Governor Newsom's going to come in, Governor Whitmer's going to come in. These major candidates are going to come in that could actually beat Donald Trump.
Right. But you would have let them. Reminds me a little of McCarthy and Kennedy against Lyndon.
That's right. That's right.
Kennedy was careful not to get in. McCarthy got in. McCarthy proved he was vulnerable.
Yeah, I wanted to be McCarthy so that Whitmer or Shapiro or some other Democratic governor could be Kennedy and actually win the whole thing. And of course, unfortunately, Bobby Kennedy got assassinated. But if he didn't, that would have worked perfectly. You know, he would have been the president.
I was the college director for Kennedy for Senate.
Is that right? Well, you know, my original...
I even have columns from my college newspaper about criticizing the Republican candidates that were used against me when I ran for president.
But, Rudy, get a load of this. My original co-founder and co-host is Ben Mankiewicz. He now does Turner Classic Movies.
Right, yeah.
And his father was Frank Mankiewicz, who was the press secretary for Bobby Kennedy.
Yeah.
So you guys might have worked together.
And I have a soft spot for the junior.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't agree with him.
He was on the show recently.
Half of him I don't agree with, and half of him I do agree with. But
me too, except probably the other half.
Yeah, right. But you know, the thing I like about him is he is a man of principle, like his father. I always considered Bobby. I love President Kennedy, but I always considered Bobby the more principled of the two.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, less of maybe a little less of a politics. I mean, he just hated having Lyndon Johnson on the ticket. Because Lyndon Johnson was a crook. He couldn't stand crooks.
And Bobby Kennedy, again, Sr., went after the mob, was super principled, great prosecutor, and cleaned up the country.
He cost him the Teamsters Union.
Yeah.
And I cost the Republican Party the Teamsters Union because I put them in receivership when Bush was running.
And now the Teamsters president is speaking at the RNC.
He's here.
So what do you think of that speech?
I thought it was a fascinating speech by a guy who's worried he's losing his constituency, right? That he's in one place and they're in another place. And they're probably the most, except for the public employees unions or the private unions, they're probably the only one really left, the only really powerful one left. I just don't think he knows where to go yet. It could be interesting to see if
yeah, I think that he did a really smart play where he's building up leverage against the Democrats, saying, "Hey, don't take us for granted. Okay, it's not a lock." And he delivered a very progressive, anti-corporate speech at the RNC, which I loved. I mean, that speech sounded like Bernie Sanders. I loved it.
And now tonight they're going to have. It's very interesting to see how Haley is. I mean, I would like to go out before Haley comes out. Ask the press to leave and just say, shh, please be nice. Mm-hmm. We'll help elect Trump if everybody here is nice.
Oh, yeah.
Don't start booing. Don't start. People. I think the American people are starving for that. They're starving for, and whoever can do that better is going to get a great advantage. You know, whoever can do let's see if we can unite.
Trump is not well known for discipline.
Yeah,
and
but so far he has been.
He has so far.
I'm praying. That's going to stay.
Yeah, because he could at any point lose that discipline.
I'm not disagreeing with you.
Okay, all right.
I know him and I love him.
Who would have guessed?
I know him and I love him. Now, tell me what you think is going to happen. Biden has put on a much better and stronger fight than I thought he would. Once that debate happened, when the debate happened, and immediately they bombed him. And that's, I watched you that night also, and everybody on CNN, I said, my God, they want to take him out. And now all of a sudden he's still there. What do you think is going to happen?
Yeah, so I think he's a goner, but he is super stubborn. And I think the First Lady is very stubborn. And I would not subject a family member to that kind of debate and all the interviews where he's getting embarrassed. I wouldn't have done that. But I think he's still going to be ousted. And the reason is, and he's going to have to step down voluntarily, but there are ways to do that. You know, you get enough Democrats to come and say, hey, don't make us do this publicly, Joe. Please, President Biden, don't make Nancy Pelosi and Barack Obama and Bill Clinton come out publicly. Right. So, and the reason why I think he's a goner is because Republicans ran an ad against Bob Casey in Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. And they ran it for a couple of days and they thought better of it and pulled it because they didn't want to, give away their advantage. And the ad said, how long did Bob Casey know about Joe Biden's condition? And how much has your senator been lying to you about Joe Biden? So that is devastating for the Democratic candidates. So they're going to lose Congress for sure if Joe Biden's the nominee, and the polling already shows that.
Yeah.
So it's going to cause a rebellion. There's no way that it's not going to cause a rebellion in Congress.
Right.
And that rebellion has already started. It's on its second wave now. And plus, his main source of power is the donors, and the donors have withdrawn.
And when does he get the point? And does he do a graceful? I imagine if he gets the point, he does a graceful exit.
Yeah. When he gets to that point, he'll be perfect.
Somebody will orchestrate it for him.
Yeah. No, he'll be graceful at the end. I mean, I would be shocked if he wasn't, right? And I hope that our side, there's these rebel forces within the Democratic Party that's been against Joe Biden for a while now, and including me. And for a year, we've been saying he's the wrong guy. Right. And I hope our side is also graceful when he exits. Don't rub it in. Don't do anything like that. Just thank him for his service.
It really is unpredictable. It depends on how people act. I mean, if he's graceful and careful in what he says, they will be. If he's not, they'll get angry. It's a strange thing. Very emotional, too.
Yeah.
Deeply emotional. And you nominate someone, you just don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But it is better. I mean, unfortunately, from my point of view, it is better to go with the unknown than the known when the known is losing.
Yeah, for Democrats, they're very nervous about change because they're like, well, that'll be risky. Yes, but holding on to a candidate that has a near 0% chance of winning is much riskier.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, not as risky for the future. You can lose with a new candidate without destroying the party for a while. Running with him, you could destroy the party for a while. You never destroy a party for good. That idea, I don't know how many times both parties have been destroyed for good, and 2 years later they win the Congress. But it'll do great damage to the party. A more viable candidate, even a viable candidate who loses, isn't an embarrassment. It doesn't. I don't think it goes as deep, but
yeah. No, once they run all those ads against the Democrats, connecting them to Biden, and then showing Biden's faux pas in the speech and his gaffes and his inability to finish sentences, that's going to be brutal. It's down ballot. It's going to be a nightmare.
How do you see Trump's performance? Reaction to being almost killed, which was heroic. I mean, that had
for a second there, I thought you were finally going to ask me about something we disagree on. And I can't wait to go after Trump. But no, he was graceful under fire.
Now, right now you've got to learn in politics. There's the right time for things, and it used to be at one time in politics that the other party just shut up during the other party's convention because it did no good. I mean, they're going to get a bump no matter what, and so what the hell are you wasting your time for? I mean, we lost that a while back. Right now is a stupid time to attack Trump. You got plenty of time to attack him. And you got all kinds of material ready, and he's got to be ready for it. But right now, I think it'd be kind of silly to attack him. I mean, he got a lot of sympathy on his side.
Yeah, and it was his finest hour.
Yeah.
It was really brave for him to stick his head back out and pump his fist and say, fight.
Let me ask you this, so we can disagree. Do you really buy this stuff that he's going to end democracy?
Yes, definitely.
Get out of here. But he was president for 4 years. So did he end democracy?
He tried.
He did?
Yeah, Rudy. So,
he could have indicted Hillary Clinton. I wanted him to.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a pure prosecutor, and to me, we had a great case, and what the hell are we passing it up for? He took a sort of Gerald Ford approach. Like it would be too disruptive for the country. And I think he was right on that one. Here's where I think we were wrong, not prosecuting Comey and a couple of the FBI people, because I don't think it deterred anything. But so why do you think he would? How did he end democracy? What did he do?
The fake elector scheme. I mean, Rudy, come on.
That isn't a fake elector scheme.
Okay, so we'll ask you more about it on Young Turks, but you're asking me now, so I'll tell.
Tell me your view. I met one of the fake electors today. Oh, I never met. He's a guy from Arizona. He said, "Mayor, I'm indicted with you." I said, "Oh, it's nice to meet you." Finally.
So he lost the election. Because you went into court and they asked you for evidence, you didn't have it, right?
They wouldn't let me. They wouldn't let me give it. The judge wouldn't give me No, they did. The judge wouldn't let me put on witnesses. That's why I went to the state legislature and presented the same witnesses that they wouldn't let me present in court.
But they asked you for evidence of wide-scale fraud.
They didn't.
And I have a quote that I read on air from you in one of the court cases where you said, no, I don't have it.
Well, I don't have it because it was day 2 of the case. I had affidavits from people who I hadn't had a chance to interview that told me that they had been engaged in fraudulent activity, but I wasn't able to interview them yet. So what I was asking for was an opportunity to have a hearing, and I have to tell you, in all the years that I was a lawyer, I've never been declined to have a hearing on a motion for a temporary injunction. So I decided with the president that we'd forget the courts. All those cases that we lost were other Republicans. They weren't Trump and me. We went to the legislatures. And I decided the only way we could make this evidence historic, preserve the historic record, is to go to the legislatures and put the witnesses before the legislatures. So we went to Pennsylvania, Michigan, Arizona, and Georgia. And Georgia did the best job, put on 120 witnesses, and did a report. But there were 40 witnesses in Pennsylvania, 45 or 50.
But look at that, Mayor. Georgia puts on all those witnesses. They did 3 recounts, including a hand recount.
Right.
And Republicans in the state, also Republicans in Arizona and all the other states, say you're wrong. There was no wide-scale fraud. Absolutely not.
Well,
and so then when Trump says, let's use our fake electors to throw this thing into doubt, that's basically a coup attempt.
He didn't say that. What he said was, if you investigate this and come to the conclusion that these are phony votes, and decide that I had the majority of the votes, these are the electors that you would select. Because if you didn't appoint those electors before December, whatever it was, 14th, he would have been deprived of those votes. And he was just following a precedent from the Nixon.
Nixon's not a good president to follow.
No, Nixon Kennedy did that over Hawaii. The whole thing was based on that precedent.
But Mayor, you already have your slate of electors. Why did you need an extra slate of fake electors?
Because once the Electoral College votes, those electors are gone. So you have
But that's the point. That's the Electoral College is when you decide elections.
You can still overturn an election before the Electoral College. In the case of the Kennedy election, they changed Hawaii on December 29th. They changed Hawaii on December 29th. The Electoral College vote is not conclusive. You can still go to court.
But the certification of the election is on January 6th, so you guys had plenty of opportunity to use his actual slate of electors before January 6th. So that's why when there's fake electors that are introduced, people go, wait a minute, these guys didn't win the election, and these guys aren't even your real electors.
But the Electoral College wasn't confused. They were presented as alternate electors, not fake electors. They were presented as, these are the electors you would select if a court or legislature awards the state to Trump. No one tried to defraud anyone.
All right, Mayor, if Joe Biden loses...
I'm going to tell you something hard to believe, but Trump, to this day, believes he won the election.
Do you believe he won the election?
I do. I believe there are states I could show you. Georgia is the best one. Georgia just announced about 2 months ago they're missing 375,000 paper ballots. I've never seen the paper ballots in Georgia. I know that they have phony paper ballots. They have paper ballots that my witnesses told me they could see were pristine, meaning they'd never been folded. Thousands of them. Now, we fought to see the ballots so that we could examine them forensically. We were never allowed to do that. They did 3 recounts. So from my point of view, they recounted the same phony ballots 3 times. And
you don't think all those ballots were phony in Georgia?
No, I think there were enough that were phony that would change the election.
Why would the Republicans go along with it? Why would Raffensperger and all the other guys go along with it?
Because they're not really Trump people, and because...
So you think Raffensperger and maybe even the governor of Georgia were in on making sure that Trump loses?
Certainly the Secretary of State. I think the Secretary of State doctored a tape recording used in my disbarment proceeding. I think he took 3 hours out of a 12-hour recording. Either him or the prosecutor in New York did it. And no one will explain why it's missing. And it's the 3 hours in which the alleged fraud took place.
So, Rudy...
It's missing from the tape.
Let me ask you something. If Joe Biden does the same exact thing that Trump and you guys did at the end of this election, says, look, I mean, Georgia, Arizona, Wisconsin say I lost, but I don't think I did lose. I think those electors are all, the ballots are all full of fraud, okay? And I'm not going to present any evidence.
Look,
I'm just going to say that I'm using my fake or alternate electors. Would you be okay with that?
As long as they were presented as alternate electors, and if in fact the legislature decides that he won, well, then he gets those electors. I mean, look.
How late can he go? Can he have Kamala Harris on
January 6th?
Can Kamala Harris on January 6th go, I'm not certifying the election?
No.
Well, that's what you guys wanted.
No. That isn't what we wanted. There's a little confusion about it. What we wanted was for Pence to accede to the request. Oh, we got a break. I'll explain it to you on your show. How's that?
Okay, that sounds good.
I'll explain it. That'll be a tease for your show. You can do anything you want with it.
Okay. Well, now Mike and I are buddies, so maybe I'll use
you're a buddy
this.
with mine now too. And I'm happy to debate you. I'm glad I found somebody I can debate with.
All right,
and we'll get really nasty sometime. Okay.
All right, that sounds good. Thank you, man.
Yeah. That was Cenk Uygur, and I think you see why Ted and I, he presents his positions rationally and reasonably, and I have to cut. Dr. Maria is going to kill me. It is time to take a break.
I'm excited to announce we're having a huge MyPillow spring sale, and here's a few examples. Buy one of our MyPillow 2.0s, you get another MyPillow 2.0 absolutely free. Made with cooling technology, the best pillow ever just got even better. And this just in, 9 brand new colors and styles of our Percale bed sheets. They're made with the finest long staple cotton, and now you can save 50% or more. That's as low as $24.98. And for the first time this year, I'm bringing you our My Slippers and Sandals for as low as $25 a pair. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get your MyPillow 2.0s. Buy one, get one free. Percale sheets as low as $24.98. My Slippers and Sandals as low as $25 a pair. And for a limited time, when you order $75 or more, your entire order ships absolutely free.
Mike Lindell here, and like you, I see our country being destroyed daily. We face massive economic issues, and I can tell you from firsthand experience, there are people in power who threaten the values that have made our country great. Well, I've been a believer in gold and silver for a long time, and I've searched for years for a partner that shares my values. Well, Genesis Gold Group showed me how easy it is to protect your IRA, 401k, or your retirement with gold and silver. Their faith-driven approach to service and stewardship is one that stands out from the rest. So call Genesis Gold Group now at 1-800-200-GOLD. That's 1-800-200-4653, or go to LindellGoldRush.com now.
The beef industry takes another blow as cricket burgers win America's best year in a row. This comes after many major beef processing plants have shut their doors for good.
The beef industry continues to take a dive as cricket skyrocket in demand. The insatiable insects have now overtaken cows as America's favorite animal. A market change that has even caused McDonald's to
cricket have cows are now a protected species as Americans they will no longer be seeing beef cows to be put on the endangered species list.
And here's why that might not be such a bad thing. Consider this. Cows are harmful to the environment.
Cows will go extinct.
Introducing the all-new Prepper Bar. These 62.2 gram bars, perforated and easily broken into 3 denominations, will fit all of your needs. Perfect for asset protection from inflation, economic turmoil, or use it for bartering or trade. Prepper bars make an ideal gift for precious metal lovers. Available in gold and silver, these slim Prepper bars fit neatly into your wallet and can be used in any situation. As gold and silver prices surge and economists predict shortages, now is the time to secure your precious metals with Prepper bars. The only bar divisible into 3 different sizes for maximum utility, tradability, and proudly mined and minted in the United States, these Prepper bars are IRA eligible and will help you diversify your wealth. To order your own Prepper bars, go to www.frankspeechbar.com. That's www.frankspeechbar.com.
Welcome back, and as you see, my co-host, who's going to be taking over in a half hour as we go into the big time of the convention. And you've been covering this whole thing. You've been covering this whole thing now for 2 days. What do you think?
Man, I have a lot of thoughts, right? Clearly, I am and anyone who knows me and follows me on social media knows that I'm a hardliner. And my concern, it's beyond the campaign. I think everybody is so focused on just winning the election. And I absolutely understand that. I do. I get it. But I also follow the election fraud, as do you. And I'm concerned there's not as much focus on that because, yes, I do think it's harder to rig an election after this weekend when they tried to kill Donald Trump and failed. It's optically problematic. But I'm more concerned about not more concerned, but I'm also concerned having been so deeply embedded in the White House as a White House correspondent, but also someone who was considered for 2 good communications jobs in the administrations, first for HUD and then at DHS. I am concerned about the people surrounding him should Donald Trump actually be able to prevail. And I'm not saying I think he'll win the election if they actually declare him the winner.
And we probably, without knowing it, agree that his original appointments were heavily influenced by the RNC.
Well, he made the deal.
And Reince Priebus, to me, was a horrible mistake.
And Reince Priebus still has a position here at the RNC this weekend.
Yeah,
he's still being celebrated, and I think that's absolutely horrible.
I was there the day that the Billy Bush thing happened, and Reince Priebus said, you got 2 choices, Donald. One is to drop out, and the other is to give all the money to the Senate candidates.
Sean Spicer went and told everybody it's time to pack up and go home.
Yeah, and I told Rance to go F himself.
You did?
Yeah, and I went on every one of the television shows the next day. I did all 5.
When Reince was out of the administration,
Christie wouldn't go on, and what's her name? The press secretary. I like to forget her.
Or Kellyanne?
Yeah.
Oh.
She wouldn't go on it. Kellyanne told me, I'm a very good Catholic.
Yeah.
I said, well, I
she's not.
She said, I'm a very good Catholic. I won't be able to go on. I said, well, gee, Kellyanne, I'm a Catholic too. She said, well, you're not a very good one. I was divorced. But I know a lot more. Well, never mind. But in any event, then Christie comes up to me and says, my wife wouldn't be happy with me if I went on. Could you go on for me? I ended up doing all 5 mornings.
Why were you always playing cleanup?
I did a Ginsburg. I loved it. They're so tired of me. They were ready to shoot me. But the minute Rance did that, when he selected him as press secretary, I said, you don't do that. You don't select the guy
Chief
who ran.
Chief of Staff.
Yeah, Chief of Staff, right.
And they stopped at the administration, but from what I understand,
and then he stuffed it with the
John Boehner and Ted Cruz people.
Yeah, people who hated him, who hated Trump.
Never
and looked down on him.
And that was the original sin of the Trump administration.
She's 100% right.
And it sabotaged him to the very end. On January 20th, 2021, these people were still undermining him. And that is my concern with some of the things that I'm seeing at this RNC, because I feel like we could see deja vu all over again.
Isn't that interesting? So I got to look at the convention more carefully. And I'm not saying you're wrong about that, because I have a couple of feelings about it too. I do think he has learned a lot since then.
You do?
Oh, 100%. He wouldn't disagree with a lot of what you and I are saying. He wouldn't disagree with it.
But why aren't we in there with him then?
Well, that's a good question. That's a good question. He knows.
Not me, but you. Why are you the person right beside him?
He knows he has to clean things up substantially. Well, people around him hate me. They completely hate me because they know I would probably fire most of them.
But you should be the person around him. Mike Lindell should be the people around him. That's when I will know he has learned.
Well, we're going to have to see. We're going to have to see. I think he knows that he has to clean out these agencies in a way that he didn't before. Before, I think he knew it was bad, but had no idea how bad it was, and thought he could sort of make a couple of changes at the top, and everything would work out fine. Had no idea how corrupt they were.
The bureaucracy is not like business.
No,
and that's what I think Donald Trump probably has learned. But I'm not sure he's learned to handle the bureaucracy in the way that he should. I'm worried he's giving in a little bit. Whereas I think Donald Trump is the one person who has the power and the actual instincts. If he will follow his instincts, and you know this, he always had the right instincts. Is that he listened to the wrong people and he overrode his instincts. If he went forward with his instincts and the right people, he could overcome the bureaucracy, and he does kind of understand it better if he will go in that direction.
Well, I think in interpreting him right now, we have to take a look at the fact that he has to win an election.
That's true.
And I do like the fact that he's calmed down quite a bit. And we have Vivek coming up.
Ramaswamy is about to take the main stage, and as soon as he does, we'll be cutting away to him.
Because we may have different views on him.
I think we have different views, and I can't wait to hear.
There we go. He looks great.
He always looks great.
Happy Vivek. Happy warrior.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for the warm welcome. It's good to be back in Milwaukee. This time last year, I was a candidate for U.S. president, and I'm proud to say that I achieved the impossible, which is that most of you actually know how to say my name by now. So thank you for that. It's good to be back. We're in the middle of a national identity crisis right now. Faith, patriotism, hard work, and family have disappeared, only to be replaced by race, gender, sexuality, and climate. But we're not going to win this election just by criticizing the other side. We're going to win this by standing for our own vision of who we really are. What does it mean to be a Republican in the year 2024? What does it mean to be an American in the year 2024? It means we believe in the ideals of 1776. It means we believe in merit, that you get ahead in this country not on the color of your skin, but on the content of your character and your contributions. It means we believe in the rule of law, and I say this as the kid of legal immigrants to this country. That means your first act of entering this country cannot break the law. That is why we will seal the southern border on day one. It means the people who we elect to run the government ought to be the ones who actually run the government, not unelected bureaucrats in the deep state. These are not black ideas or white ideas. They are not even Democrat ideas or Republican ideas. They are American ideas that we fought a revolution to secure. And the man who will revive these ideals in the United States of America is your next president, the 47th president of the United States, Donald J. Trump. If you want to seal the border, vote Trump. If you want to restore law and order in this country, vote Trump. If you want to reignite the economy in this country, vote Trump. If you want to revive national pride in this country, vote Trump. If you want to make America great again, vote Trump. But there is one more reason I'm going to ask you to vote Trump, and it's the most important one. It's the one the media won't talk about, but it's the truth. Donald Trump is the president who will actually unite this country, not through empty words, but through action. Because you know what? Success is unifying. Excellence is unifying. That's who we are as Americans. That's who we've always been. To those of you watching this at home tonight, I'd like to deliver a message that the media doesn't want you to hear from the Republican Party. Our message to black Americans is this. The media has tried to convince you for decades that Republicans don't care about your communities, but we do. We want for you what we want for every American. Safe neighborhoods, clean streets, good jobs, a better life for your children, and a justice system that treats everyone equally, regardless of your skin color and regardless of your political beliefs. Our message to every legal immigrant in this country is this. You're like my parents. You deserve the opportunity to secure a better life for your children in America. But our message to illegal immigrants is also this. We will return you to your country of origin. Not because you're all bad people, but because you broke the law. And the United States of America was founded on the rule of law. Our message to millennials, speaking as one myself, yes, it's true. Our government sold us a false bill of goods with the Iraq War and the 2008 financial crisis, loading up our national debt that falls on our generation's shoulders, telling us that if we took out college loans, we'd somehow get a head start on the American dream, when it hasn't worked out that way. But we can't just be cynical about our country, because the United States of America is still the last best hope that we have, and we deserve a better class of politician, one who actually tells us the truth, even if it comes with some mean tweets from time to time. And our message to Gen Z is this: you're going to be the generation that actually saves this country. You want to be a rebel? You want to be a hippie? You want to stick it to the man? Show up on your college campus and try calling yourself a conservative. Say you want to get married, have kids, teach them to believe in God and pledge allegiance to their country. Because you know what? Fear has been infectious in this country, but courage can be contagious too. That too is what it means to be an American. And you know what? If you're at home and you disagree with everything I just said, our message to you is this: we will still defend to the death your right to say it, because that is who we are as Americans. We are the country where we can disagree like hell and still get together at the dinner table at the end of it. That is the America I know. That is the America we miss. We do not have to be ancient Rome. We don't have to be this nation in decline. We can still be a nation whose best days, not in some fake politician way, but in a true way, a nation whose best days are actually still ahead of us. Still on our way to that shining city on a hill, that country where no matter who you are, or where your parents came from, or what your skin color is, or how long your last name is, that you will still get ahead in this country with your own hard work, your own commitment, your own dedication, and that you know what? You are free to speak your mind at every step of the way. That is the American dream. That is what won us the American Revolution. That is what reunited us after the Civil War. That is what won us 2 world wars and the Cold War. That is what still gives hope to the free world. And if we can revive that dream over group identity and victimhood and grievance, then nobody in the world, not a nation, not a corporation, not a virus, not China, is going to defeat us. That is what American exceptionalism is all about. And that is what we will revive this November when we send Donald J. Trump back to the White House. Thank you all. God bless you and your families. And may God bless our United States of America. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, he was well received, but he usually is. Vivek Ramaswamy is an excellent orator.
100%, yep.
But I think he was well received here, but I think when I talk to a lot of conservatives across the board, they question his perhaps authenticity or how much they can trust him. Mm-hmm. You've spent a little time talking to him, Mayor, right?
I can't say, I know him forever, but I do have a much more in-depth knowledge than most people do, and almost all of it's positive. I still don't know. I still don't know him well enough to be 100% sure. But sure enough, so that I thought he'd be a positive force in this election. I think
he was excellent in the debates. He was the highlight of the debate since Donald Trump wasn't there.
I think he's essentially conservative. I think those are legitimate viewpoints, particularly on economics and on values. I don't know about foreign policy. We've never talked as much about foreign policy. And as to whether he should be in the cabinet, he's certainly qualified to be in the cabinet. My God, I mean,
you think so? What role would you put him in?
That's the point. I don't know. He's sort of a generalist. HUD. He could do HUD. He could do He could do commerce even.
Commerce, sure.
Yeah, I mean, he was an extraordinarily successful young businessman.
But see, that's where a lot of people draw into question his business, because according to, some reports, as far as his business, he went in the red. There's questions about where, while he was a graduate student, where did his actual money come from, right? Because he was kind of a millionaire out of nowhere, billionaire even, right?
Right.
Out of nowhere. He did actually get into the COVID game, and he had worked on vaccine tracing technology, which I am extremely wary of, because it increases the surveillance state that is causing problems for everyone in the direction we do not want to go. He was a pretty hardcore liberal. So why? It's me with Amber Rose. It's the same Amber Rose thing. It's like, when was the change of heart? Why, really? And how much is there a change of heart? And I think there's a lot of people that feel me that way. Do you think it's genuine?
Yes, I do.
Why?
I think the pandemic changed a lot of people's minds.
But he was about to take. He was involved in potential contact tracing and benefiting off the vaccine while also working with China.
A lot of people work with China without. That's why I say on foreign policy, I don't know where he stands. An awful lot of people work with China without realizing how serious it was. I think Trump and the last couple of years, I mean, I have always been an anti-communist, and China was always very dangerous to me. But a lot of people were very fooled by China. And I do think on the pandemic, he approached it more like a businessman rather than from a political point of view. You're looking at it from a political point of view.
But the pandemic shouldn't have been political at all. That's the problem.
No,
it was
I meant
political.
He approached it from a business point of view. If I can develop contract tracing, I can make $1 billion without thinking of it philosophically or politically. Like, my God, how terrible it would be.
For constitutional rights.
Yeah, or all of.
But that's what we need him to think about, is constitutional rights.
Well, what you do once you decide you're going to be in politics, when you're not, it's not the first thing that occurs to you. First thing that occurs to you is there a technology that can solve this whole problem? I mean, a lot of people legitimately thought that a vaccine could work. That was kind of stupid. Vaccines generally don't work. Vaccines,
not for something that's constantly changing and mutating.
But most of them didn't know we were in the middle of what I believe was a conspiracy by several of the big companies and Fauci to deprive us of treatments. So
and funding creation of the virus.
so that we could do emergency approval of vaccines that would make them billionaires, and they got people killed to do it.
And also thwart Donald Trump's election.
But who would have known? I mean, most people wouldn't accept that right away.
Well, I know, because I pretty much got canceled over saying that early on.
And I would not honestly.
But don't you want?
I wouldn't have accepted that, except for Dr. Maria, who from the beginning. From the beginning.
It was Dr. Maria that kept you in line on that?
No, Dr. Maria from the beginning had the whole COVID thing 100% right. From the beginning, she knew it was developed in a Chinese lab, and that a vaccine was
I liked her instantly.
And the long shot vaccine was a long shot, and it was it defied logic that we weren't treating people. That we were, what we did was we let people get sick enough because they couldn't be treated, and then it became another disease that you couldn't cure, and they all died. And we did it because if you had a treatment for it, you couldn't get the emergency authorization for the vaccine. We would have had a vaccine for 2 years.
So here, I understand what you're saying, because a lot of people did absolutely get snowed, right?
And
I'm sorry, and I just want to say this first. The problem is we need our leaders not to get snowed.
True.
I knew immediately, and I was nothing but a White House reporter, not the smartest person. I don't claim to have any particular level of expertise, but I knew this was a fraud being perpetuated on the American people.
When did you?
By February, March 2020.
Yeah. Okay.
And I knew that they had done something to make sure that Donald Trump would not be elected. Right?
Yes.
And it was
from the beginning, I had that same prejudice. Something's going on here.
And I was tracking it because I remember. A lot of people might not know this, but during the time, my father was dying of cancer. And so I remember being home in December of 2019, and my husband and I were reading about this virus coming from China, And we knew that it was nothing that was probably natural. The timing was too uncanny because Donald Trump, the economy was booming. The GDP was what experts that I had known since the Reagan years didn't even, and they were always optimists on supply side economics, right?
Right.
And they were against the terrorists, but then they had even said it was the kind of growth we were seeing in economics. Good economists did not even believe was possible.
Right.
And so the fact that we were hearing about a virus from China in 2019 on the eve of a pivotal election year, I knew
Well, you
that it was purposeful.
From a non-scientific background,
but we need our leaders to know that.
You came to the same conclusion that Dr. Maria did. She remembers somewhere in August of 2019, which is very, very early, hearing about this possible virus in China. And by October, she said that there's a big virus in China. It is spreading around and they're hiding it. Mm-hmm. And we both begin with a total distrust of China. I mean, this is a country that's killed 80 million of its own people. So even by the time it broke, it seemed to me it clearly came from China. China was sending their people all around the world to infect everybody. Remember when Trump on January, 30th, cut off Chinese coming in, and the whole establishment went nuts for doing it. But it was obviously the right thing to do. And at that point, I said, "There's something going on here. I mean, somebody's in league with China here."
And it was us, actually.
Yes, it was us. And the reality is that from the very beginning, I think they planned this for two reasons: to hurt us, to hurt Trump, to destroy Trump, and to make a fortune.
I think
and to make a fortune.
I think, and I'll have to say this: it's the stone that killed multiple birds.
Yeah,
not killing two birds with one stone.
Oh, that's true. It did a lot more than
four or five.
I don't think they realized all the things it was going to do. But I think the main
it achieved a lot for them, though. They got rid of Trump. They were able to make a ton of money. They increased the national security state. They sort of went further towards the not just increasing the national security state, but you got further into the global governance, and we almost got that WHO treaty, right?
Yeah,
which would have given away American sovereignty entirely, which is what the globalists have wanted for decades.
And we got used to fascism in many areas.
But again, getting back to Vivek Ramaswamy and his origins and his background, and perhaps he's had to change of heart, but it was not that long ago that he was on board with making money off this. And if we have leaders, we need leaders to be thinking like, Dr. Maria, to be on top of it and not give in to what they have. They need to have more foresight. I feel like there's some reporter in the White House press pool.
Sometimes it takes experiences to open you up. And I think that's what happened with Vivek. I think some of these things that were more obvious to you and to her, and to some extent to me, weren't as obvious to him. And I think when they became obvious to him, he became a true believer. And I don't think he's an insincere man. I mean, I think so. I think he does the best with what he knows at the time, and time will tell. I didn't think he was ready to be president. I told him that. I mean, I told him that. I talked to him, I think, before he even announced, and I said, Vivek, I just don't. He said, well, I don't think I can be president, but maybe it's a start. And I said, well, then the thing I would tell you is, people can run for president, and they can ruin themselves by being idiots and asses. Or people can run for president and they can make a contribution. So try to think about how to make a contribution without getting all hung up on the fact you think you can win. Of course, he got hung up thinking he could win for a while. They all do.
Well, his contribution was absolutely hammering the rhinos.
Well, that's what I enjoyed. Oh, my goodness. So as a performer,
it was amazing, actually.
As a performer, he's quite effective.
He's very good. He's excellent with her. You could probably even make him press secretary, though. That's not what he wants to do, right? That's not what he wants.
There are people who have said that he should be press secretary. People said that Mike should be press secretary too.
Or Laura Loomer. You could. I just think about the people.
You wouldn't be a bad press secretary, my dear.
I would. You know what I would rather be? I'd rather be the strategic comms director for 3 months. 3 months, and I would absolutely revamp that White House briefing room, because what Even the White House on it. I've sat there. I was in the WHA. I was the de facto, like, outside honorary White House Correspondents Association board member for the people that were not just in conservative media, but were in, like, media that they just didn't like. You know, these media might not agree with you and I, but the corporate media didn't like them either. So I represented basically all of us. And I was an official board member. But what I learned is that the WHCA does not have the control. They pretend they do.
Right.
And even those people in the Trump administration didn't realize that the WHCA didn't have control. They thought they did. The White House does. And I would go in and I would totally wipe that White House briefing room seating chart.
Right.
So fast. CNN, MSNBC, and all those would not be in the front anymore. You can't do that.
What are they?
And I would move them out. They
Am
would
I
be sitting
wrong
there all
to
day.
be upset when I went that the CNN, MSNBC, CBS have the best spots?
You're not wrong.
They're in the center. Even
That drove me
not that I
crazy
have
through the
any
whole
great
Trump
love for Fox
administration.
like you, but Fox is off on the side. Even Newsmax is off on the side, and of course everybody else is thrown out. So
And Fox and Newsmax are only there because they've compromised. they would be out here with us if they've been telling the truth. You and I both know that.
So it shocked me.
So I want to be strategic. If I took any role in the White House, it would be strategic comms director for 3 months. I don't want to be there much longer. I would revamp that whole briefing room. I would tell the press secretary what she can do, you know, like the best, he or she,
right,
the best way to handle the press corps. I would tell them their dirty secrets too, so that when they have something, you know. But I just would hope that Donald Trump, when he staffs up, I just want him. What disheartens me about this RNC is seeing that people like you and Mike Lindell are not right up there in the front row with him, sitting beside him. Yeah, because you all have given up more than anyone I know to support this man.
Right.
And I want those kind of people around him in the second administration. And that is what I will be optimistic about. I think we have to go to commercial break.
All right.
We'll be back with more. This is so.
It is good. It's a terrific coverage, and I tell you, it's a fascinating convention, and
not what I expected.
And we're going out there, and we don't know what we're facing. Are we facing Biden, or are we facing
the establishment?
Are we facing who?
Who are we facing? And we'll talk about that more when we get back.
I'm excited to announce we're having a huge MyPillow spring sale. And here's a few examples. Buy one of our MyPillow 2.0s, get another MyPillow 2.0 absolutely free. Made with cooling technology, the best pillow ever just got even better. And this just in, 9 brand new colors and styles of our Percale bed sheets. They're made with the finest long staple cotton, and now you can save 50% or more. That's as low as $24.98. And for the first time this year, I'm bringing you our My Slippers and Sandals for as low as $25 a pair. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get your MyPillow 2.0s. Buy one, get one free. Percale sheets as low as $24.98. My Slippers and Sandals as low as $25 a pair. And for a limited time, when you order $75 or more, your entire order ships absolutely free.
Mike Lindell here, and like you, I see our country being destroyed daily. We face massive economic issues, and I can tell you from firsthand experience, there are people in power who threaten the values that have made our country great. Well, I've been a believer in gold and silver for a long time, and I've searched for years for a partner that shares my values. Well, Genesis Gold Group showed me how easy it is to protect your IRA, 401k, or your retirement with gold and silver. Their faith-driven approach to service and stewardship is one that stands out from the rest. So call Genesis Gold Group now at 1-800-200-GOLD. That's 1-800-200-4653, or go to LindellGoldRush.com now.
The beef industry takes another blow as Cricket Burgers win America's best burger for the 4th year in a row. This comes after many major beef processing plants have shut their doors for good.
The beef industry continues to take a dive as cricket birds skyrocket in demand. The insatiable insects have now overtaken cows as America's favorite animal. A market change that has even caused McDonald's to
cricket have cows are now a protected species, as America means they will no longer be seeing cows to be put on the endangered species list.
And here's why that might not be such a bad thing. Consider this. Cows are harmful to the environment.
Cows will go extinct.
Introducing the all-new Prepper Bar. These 62.2 gram bars, perforated and easily broken into 3 denominations, will fit all of your needs. Perfect for asset protection from inflation, economic turmoil, or use it for bartering or trade. Prepper bars make an ideal gift for precious metal lovers. Available in gold and silver, these slim Prepper bars fit neatly into your wallet and can be used in any situation. As gold and silver prices surge and economists predict shortages, now is the time to secure your precious metals with Prepper bars. The only bar divisible into 3 different sizes for maximum utility, tradability, and proudly mined and minted in the United States, these Prepper bars are IRA eligible and will help you diversify your wealth. To order your own Prepper bars, go to www.frankspeechbar.com. That's www.frankspeechbar.com.
Welcome back to Frank's Speech, live coverage of the RNC Day 2. I believe, Mike Lindell, we are about to see Ted Cruz, the senator from Texas, take the stage because the whole focus tonight is on immigration and the border. And I know that you've talked to Ted Cruz. He's, so what do you expect from him this evening?
Well, I would expect that he would tell it like with the things that need to be done with the border. I mean, he's pretty common sense when it comes to that. And I just met him, and talked to him for quite a while. I guess it's been about 3-4 months now. But that's what I would expect. I live in Texas now a lot of the time too now, and it's the nonsensical stuff you see that goes on. It's got to be talked about, and I think I'll say some good things.
So when you met and talked with him personally a few months ago, what did he have to say?
I did most of the talking.
Really? No.
I kept trying to tell you. I wanted to get his thing
on the elections.
On the election crime. The election
He's not going to talk about that.
Yeah. That's where, for me, it's not about what are you going to do? I'm going, what are you going to do for election?
You can't fix the border unless you win elections.
Exactly right.
Yes.
And he was on board with that. He didn't say, oh no, there was no crime in Texas because Donald Trump won, or whatever. He was very, he listened, and he really did.
Wait, did he have anything to add to it though?
Yeah, I think he's on board with securing our election platforms with paper ballots hand counted.
Okay.
And I think that's my first thing I bet in any politician. I used to bet him like this, like up in Ohio, this guy wanted me to endorse him for governor, and I said, well, do you think Donald Trump, do you think there was any cheating in Ohio? He goes, no, Donald Trump won Ohio. You're out. You're out. I'm going, you're running for office and you don't even bother and do your due diligence and check into what happened in your state. Just because Donald Trump won means nothing happened, right? It was disgusting. And then I think there was, Eric Trump was standing there and General Flynn, and I said, he goes, well, these two endorsed me. I said, well, good for them, Special K. I'm not going to endorse you if you don't even look into your election platforms. Yeah. And that's what every politician running in anything now, the biggest applause that they get, including our real president, is when he says, I'm going to secure elections, go to paper ballots, hand counted, and the crowd goes wild. The minute I'm in office, what does Donald Trump say? 3 things. I'm going to secure that border. I'm going to drill, baby, drill. And I'm going to get it from same-day voting, paper ballots, hand counted. And what gets the biggest applause? The last one. Because you said it. Everything comes from our elections. That's why they're deemed critical infrastructure.
Yeah, there will be no securing the border unless you win elections. You know what's interesting? Ted Cruz is about to take the stage. in 2024 and you look back in 2016, at one time he was actually a candidate for president, and he and Donald Trump had the back and forth, but he has since been a pretty strong backer of Donald Trump.
I got a little story of that, and you remember the president called him Lion Ted, right?
Yes.
So when Ted, this is coming up, and I believe it was maybe the 2018 election, and the president, our real president, was going to go to Texas at the time to do a rally for Ted Cruz. And I sat there and I go, how is he going to pull this off when he called him Lion Ted? And now they're combining him going, what was he going to say? Ted doesn't lie anymore. Ted doesn't lie. And it was amazing. If anybody looked back on that, our real president, how he went like this, and it was like they just, both the one back the other, and the rest is history. But it's the way the narrative he put out, I was going, wow, this guy, our real president, has more skills at taking a situation and going, okay, we're here, that's just politics, now we're together.
Well, it's funny you say that, because remember Marco Rubio, little Marco, was on apparently the short list for vice president, and that's actually not. At first, I thought it was fake news.
Yeah. Well,
but it was not fake news.
It was not fake news.
He actually got vetted, and there was a point that it was actually very possible.
I was with him a week ago in Miami with Marco Rubio, and he came up to me, and what I liked about him, it wasn't phoniness. He came up to me back in 18 or 17 when I met him. We were at some event together, and I went up to him and I go, hey, how about a selfie? And I did it with, and he was like, I didn't know if he was surprised, nervous. I don't want to be seen with Mike Lindell. I don't know. But this time he just came up. He approached me. We talked for a good 15 minutes to half hour. Now, was he doing it because he was on the short list? I don't know. It didn't seem like he was genuinely concerned about the elections, too. But,
Do you think little Marco is going to get a spot in the Trump cabinet?
I don't know. I don't know. I actually don't know. I think, I don't know, to be speculative on it, I couldn't say either way. What would he do? Where would you put him? Yeah, where would you put him?
I thought about that. I kind of thought about Vivek, like Rudy, Mayor Giuliani, and I thought, well, maybe, for Vivek, because with a lot of these potential vice presidential candidates, they end up getting a spot in the cabinet, right? That's what happens. We thought for Vivek, you could get Commerce, potentially HUD. But for Marco, here's the thing. I don't think Marco Rubio should have any spot. And I'll tell you why. Because he was on the Senate Intelligence Committee when Trump took office in 2017. He did nothing to dispel the Russiagate hoax. He knew it was a hoax.
Well, hold it, ready?
And he went along with it. You're out, but apparently not, because he almost was a vice presidential peg. So that concerns me. I hope that he does not have a spot.
But you know what? I've learned, you have the campaign people going, I go through this a lot too, and it bothers me. I'll be in different states, and they're going, hey, your president needs to endorse this, Mike. You need to tell him whatever. But all these people that are out there vetting, it's like they look at it and they go, well, he doesn't have much chance of winning. But, if you don't have the president's endorsement, you know what I mean? It's like, if he doesn't have that, maybe he would win with it. But they're vetting him like that, and they're also, I watch him look at things. Okay, we'll take Marco because he can bring that Hispanic. You know what I mean? Instead of looking like people, how would you do at the job? Not how would you do it to help get elected. Our real president doesn't need somebody up there to help him get elected. He needs someone that will do their job. And I really believe that's why J.D. Vance is probably one of the best choices that I would, he was in my top 2, and I'm telling you, because
he was in your top 2.
Yeah, he was in my top 2, and I told the president that, and with him, it's like, you're not bringing him in. It's not going to draw people like having a woman or a black man. You know what I mean?
He doesn't need the draw, though.
He doesn't need that draw.
I think we're actually getting really close to Ted Cruz, and we have also Nikki Haley coming up on the main stage tonight, and Governor Ron DeSantis from Florida. So we'll talk more about that. And here's Ted Cruz.
Yeah.
God bless Donald J. Trump. And let me start by giving thanks to God Almighty for protecting President Trump. And for turning his head on Saturday as the shot was fired. Together we lift up in prayer all of our leaders for protection. And our prayers are in particular with the family of Fire Chief Corey Comparatore and the others injured on Saturday. Never before has an election mattered so much. We are facing an invasion on our southern border. Not figuratively, a literal invasion. 11.5 million people have crossed our border illegally under Joe Biden. Look around you. This arena holds about 18,000 souls. Now imagine 639 arenas just like this filled to the brim. That is 11.5 million people, larger than all but 8 states in the nation. But the numbers don't show us the true price that our country is paying. Every day, Americans are dying. Murdered, assaulted, raped by illegal immigrants that the Democrats have released. Teenage girls and boys wearing colored wristbands are being sold into a life of sex slavery. This is evil and it's wrong. And it is happening every damn day. Think of Kate Steinle. She was 32, walking with her father on a San Francisco pier when a bullet tore through her heart. The man who fired that gun, he'd been deported 5 times. Every damn day. Think of Laken Riley. Just 22 years old, a nursing student with dreams of healing others. She went for a jog and never came home. Her life taken by someone who should have never been here. Every damn day. Or Rachel Marin, a beautiful mother of 5, raped and murdered in suburban Maryland by an illegal immigrant the Democrats released. Every damn day. Or Jocelyn Nungary, only 12 years old. It was just 1 month ago today that she was brutally raped and murdered in Houston by 2 men who were supposed to be detained and monitored, but instead released and allowed to roam free. Every damn day. These aren't just stories.
Okay, for me, that's hard to watch. I mean, you're sitting there every damn day. What does that do for the speech? I mean, it's, your damning days. Every day should be a glorious day here, right, that God's given us. I think it's ruining his speech. What is it? Every damn day, you know what I mean? I mean, I think it's disgusting.
I think that it is not a very strong speech.
No.
I absolutely agree with you. And while immigration is an issue that should resonate with not just Republicans,
everybody,
but people across the board, for some reason, the senator who is from Texas, and this should be an issue that he is, well versed in and very passionate about.
And he shouldn't have to have it a teleprompter like he planned to say every damn day.
It feels like he's trying too hard. And you don't even have to try hard on this issue. Because it's such a problem.
You should be talking from your heart, your passion. You live in Texas. I mean,
I have an interesting story. I knew someone who was more of a grassroots activist, and they walked up to Ted Cruz, and they were talking about the weaponization of the federal government and the targeting of Donald Trump, and this is even like a couple of years ago. And Ted Cruz had kind of missed a crucial vote on something, and they asked him, said, well, why can't, you're in the, you have wasn't maybe a couple of years ago, but it was when we had the House majority and already, and there was this the Senate is kind of deadlocked, and he said, he asked Ted Cruz, said, why can't you all do something? Like, why aren't you doing more about it? And he's like, I'm only one person.
Right.
Like they were asking, why didn't you show up to the vote? He said, well, I'm only one person.
Well,
but, every person has to show up.
Yeah, if everybody thought like that, where would we be today? Maybe I go back. I'm only one person.
Well, but think about the kind of people that ended up in the Trump administration in 2017 to 2020. A lot of those were Ted Cruz aides. Yeah. And if he feels that way, and this is kind of the dispassionate speech we get from him now, we understand why. And I still think Donald Trump was one of the if not the most effective president. Oh, I know he was the most effective president in modern history and potentially of all time. And I know he faced a lot of obstacles to do it. And yes, I got a little bit frustrated with him that he didn't understand the power he actually had. And he listened a lot to the White House counsel like Pat Cipollone, who now works for Bill Barr at the law firm that he started after he made sure there was no investigations from the Trump Department of Justice into election fraud.
Right.
I get frustrated that Trump listened to people like that during the Trump years. I understand why. He didn't really understand. He didn't come out of this world. He was a businessman, and though he thought that, I'll treat it like a business bureaucracy is very different. Right. It's a whole different animal. Right. He still was very effective.
Right, absolutely. I want to comment on that. You named that lawyer, that Pat
Cipollone.
Okay.
He works for Bill Barr now.
Right. Okay, but I want to tell you a little story about that. Everybody remembers my famous picture outside the White House that said
I was standing on the North Lawn that day.
Right, that martial law or whatever. But let me tell you guys, those weren't my papers. Those were given to me by a group of lawyers, and they were sealed. And I went in there with evidence to show our real president, and to get a gag order lifted on Dennis Montgomery, the evidence that I had. I needed that signed. But anyway, so they said, well, Mike, if I give him the evidence now. Robert O'Brien was also in there,
and he was the national security advisor at the time.
So to make this very short, I give it to the president, the evidence. He looks at it. He asks Mark Meadows a bunch of stuff, and then Mark Meadows left the room.
And this is in January of 2021.
January 15th. January 15th of 21. So I'm in the Oval Office. I give him this, and he looks at the evidence. And we talk about it a little bit. Robert O'Brien is sitting where you are, and the president,
and he was central casting for a national security advisor.
Right. And he sat and he goes, sir, don't listen to this. If you do anything, there'll be uprising. The left will go crazy. That's what he's telling him. I'm going, and I flipped out on Robert O'Brien. I go, I don't know who you are, but I said, why are you telling this? I said, and I'm yelling at him, right? I sit back down, kind of calm down. The president goes, he sits there, and he goes, and I said, here, I have this for you, too. And I gave him an envelope, and he opens it up. These are recommendations from the lawyers, right? The first one, he only read one on there. It says, fire Robert O'Brien, who's sitting right there. I go, there, that's a good recommendation. So now he gives all the papers to Robert O'Brien, okay? He goes back upstairs, and he says, bring Mike up to the lawyers to see if there's anything to this. Brings me upstairs. And the lawyer that came out was Pat, what did he say?
Cipollone.
So he comes out. I didn't know his name at the time, and he grabs these papers from me now. I still have not seen him. And he goes in his office for a bit. He comes back out. He gives the gal, his assistant, the papers, gives them to me, and brings me back downstairs. And she said, you know what, we're going to get back to you on that. We're going to, you're not going to be able to meet today or whatever. I go, no, I said, I'm meeting with someone on this. He said I get to meet with the lawyers. So she goes back upstairs, and that's when I went back outside. They let me go outside of the West Wing there, and I had those papers in my hand and never read them. And that's when you seen the Washington Post dialed in for this, right? Mm-hmm. So anyway, make a long story short, I look up, I'm on the phone with my son, and the media comes over the hill like a herd of buffalo running, right? They stop right before that. I go, would you all like me to answer questions? They go, yeah. I go, I changed my mind. You all find something really nice to write about me. Now, I still haven't read those papers, right? I go back upstairs, and they bring me back upstairs, and they bring me there, and here comes that Pat guy. And he comes, there's two people that are going to have me meet. And he comes in there, and he's got the set, a copy of the papers. He goes, You said right on here to fire me. That was the second recommendation, to fire him. and I go,
that might have been the first, and then Robert O'Brien second.
I said to him, I didn't write these papers. These come from lawyers. I said, I'm here for this evidence. And I said, he goes, oh, you didn't? He goes, well, my son read your book. He said, and I said, well, maybe you should read my book. You got a little problem going on here. And so then anyway, of course, the rest is history when they basically shooed me out of the White House. But you bring up that name, and I'm good. It's funny how these lawyers, that was their top 2 recommendations.
But that's why personnel is so important. Personnel is not just policy, it is everything. Mm-hmm. And here's what I also know about pass up alone White House counsels. One of my main sources around Donald Trump during his presidency was a body man of Donald Trump. And he told me that some of those executive orders were related to, doing manufacturing, like Peter Navarro was pushing big time about 100% manufacturing in the United States, bringing back our antibiotic, right? Because our 99%, I believe it is, of our antibiotic supply is manufactured in China. That makes us extremely vulnerable, right? If they want to release something that we need antibiotics before, they can just withhold them. And they talked about doing that during the pandemic when we were relying on it. These executive orders would go to Donald Trump. They'd be written up. Mm-hmm. And I also had a source in the office in the White House, which is not staffed with politicals, but permanent staffers who work in the White House. They're not political appointments. They say they're through administrations. They would write up these executive orders. They would go to Donald Trump. Donald Trump would think that they're going through. And people like Pass-It-Malone and the White House counsel would make him think that it was getting done. And so when you would hear Donald Trump go out there and say, we're doing this and we're doing that as far as an executive order, and he thought it was done, they would walk out and they would rip him up and toss him in the trash.
Unreal. I believe it, though, because remember, I had this Seradivir that was made from oleander to help the whole pandemic. And I went there and I was with Ben Carson and it went to the, we needed an IND or whatever for the hospitals, and it went to, the task force then, who Pence and Mark Short sat on, they would block it. Then it'd go over to Steve Hahn with the FDA, and he'd block it. It's like, in the meantime, he thought something was getting done.
He thought it had already been taken care of.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I remember Mark Meadows saying, Mike, I do this stuff. I'm going to put this through right away. Well, week after week, weeks turned into another week to another week to another week.
And that falls, and you brought up Mark Meadows' name, that falls on the chief of staff. Because that's a right-hand man for the person or woman.
Right.
And they should have been the people who told Donald Trump, you thought it got it done? You thought you did it? It did not get done. But they would fall in cahoots with these people.
Right.
And so also whoever, let's say he prevails, the person he chooses for chief of staff is critical.
Right.
Reince Priebus was that coming in 2017.
Right.
He absolutely crippled Donald Trump's presidency with bad personnel choices.
But you know what, Emma?
All were bad.
Right. And I believe, though, that you learn from that, right? So
we hope.
We can pray that they learn, because think of all the obstacles he had, and then the pushbacks of everyone, but then having people around him that didn't let him know that things were getting done. And you hope that that he does surround himself with people that'll have the people's back, But
I also want to say that, sometimes you get in trouble for being critical of Donald Trump, right? It's not that I totally believe in his intuition. I believe he loves this country.
He loves it.
And he believes the best. And they couldn't have exemplified that better, but by trying to kill the man. Mm-hmm. And him standing up and saying, fight. I say this, it's like out of love, right? Because you want him to make the best choices. And these personnel choices are going to be absolutely critical to every person in the United States. Because a president is one man. And while they may be great, they need to rely on great people around them as well to make sure their great vision gets done.
Right. And one of the things with our great real president that I've seen is people don't realize this. He's such a great listener. He takes it. I've been with him at many where he'll ask people, take it all in, and and then discern it. But I think Emerald, what gets in the way is the loyalty. People that are loyal to them, he can be maybe forgiving, in a point.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I think that is his major Shakespearean character flaw. Mm-hmm. I think that he is not loyal to the people who are very good to him and who actually have his back. And I think he tries very hard to get the people who don't like him and wish ill for him. He wants them to like them. Oh, my child. And this is coming from someone who has great respect for Donald Trump.
Right.
I do. I'll never forget some of the times I spent talking off the record with him. And I think he had a great presidency. He did great things for this country.
Absolutely.
He's the best president of my lifetime, but I didn't really live through the Reagan years. But I still think in looking back at history, I think he's better than Reagan. I absolutely do.
December of 2019, think of that. Everything manifested that before they handed us the China virus. Everybody's lives, no matter where your baseline started, I don't care if you're in the street or you're a four-forker, it went up a little bit with the highest consumer confidence in history. It seemed like every time you heard a problem, he'd silo it out and say, here's what we're going to do about this, and it would get done. Rid of ISIS in 3 months or whatever it was. And
well, when he talked to the generals and he left the bureaucracy and the Pentagon, he went beyond military top leadership, right? He talked to that general in Iraq, and the general who is based in Iraq told him, when I think he went for Thanksgiving that year, this is how you do it.
Right.
But again, the one thing I wish that he would learn and that you could change, and I think is a Shakespearean flaw, hey, stop talking to Maggie Haberman of the New York Times. She literally is one reason you got raided in Mar-a-Lago. He wants these people who do not like him and who are constantly trying to undermine him. He thinks he can change them. He thinks that he can make them like that.
Okay, now you watch me all day deal with CNN, Washington Post, and let me follow me around. These guys, people are going, Mike, why are you letting them do that? Well, for me.
Well, that's different.
Yeah, but for me, and, for me.
You don't engage with them the same way he does with the liberal media, the corporate media. You use them.
To get the word out.
I don't think he's using them
right.
the same way. You should teach Donald Trump how to effectively use them, but not let them take advantage of him.
Right.
I think.
Okay. Well, that's I do, and because we've lost our conservative media, Fox News, Newsmax, Salem Media, they won't report any news. I compared them today. I was actually with CNN and the New York Times, and I was with them, and I'm telling them both. I said, you know what? I rely on you guys. I said, Fox News and Newsmax and Salem Media has become a weather channel that doesn't report hurricanes or tornadoes. It's written right there. Thou shalt not talk about vaccines or machines.
That's
there,
actually a great analogy. I'd never thought of that way. A weather channel that does not report
the two worst things that you have concerns about. Both of them don't. All three of them don't. And, I was the biggest, My Pillow was the biggest advertiser with that, and rev shares and everything on Salem Media. Then I broke bread with Everson. They prayed with me back in 650. Then in 17, they still relied on everything. I would go on all their shows and talk about how many employees I hired, and we'd talk about addiction, the American dream on steroids. I used to be a crack addict, all this stuff. Well, then after Smartmatic sued Fox News on February 4th of 2021, all of a sudden it all ended. I can't go on there and talk about pillows because they're afraid I'm going to talk about these other things. And why would you not? I remember telling Newsmax, Chris Rudy, I said, it's just the news when we have a gain. And I said, if you had something like report, like in this state, when Racine County, they went into all the nursing homes, that was news. You know who was there? RSBN and one other local channel. When all these things happening, and I said, it's just news. You don't have to say anything either way. And I said, well, you're already sued anyway. What's the difference?
Well, I have some particular insight into that.
Right? Yes, you do.
I have something to say about that.
Right.
I don't think I've actually publicly said this on air, but I remember being at the White House today that you were, since a White House reporter, that you were on air talking about the machines during America's Agenda. Remember?
Right.
It was Bob Sellers and Heather was really good, and bless her. She tried to handle that, and she actually agreed with you, I think. I won't speak for Heather, but I do believe she, thought you should be able to talk about it. And I don't know if she's still with Newsmax, so maybe I shouldn't say that, but Bob didn't, because Bob's a liberal. And Bob is like hardcore liberal, and his
is
wife
that the guy that ripped his microphone off and walked out?
He's a hardcore lib.
The #1 story in the world for 2 days that he ripped his microphone.
Okay, real quick, we're going to Nikki Haley soon, but I watched that happen, and her ratings dropped 75% that day.
Yes.
Here's Nikki Haley talking about ratings drop.
My fellow Republicans, President Trump asked me to speak to this convention in the name of unity. It was a gracious invitation, and I was happy to accept. I'll start by making one thing perfectly clear. Donald Trump has my strong endorsement, period. Our country is at a critical moment. We have a choice to make. For more than a year, I said a vote for Joe Biden is a vote for President Kamala Harris. After seeing the debate, everyone knows it's true. If we have 4 more years of Biden or a single day of Harris, our country will be badly worse off. For the sake of our nation, we have to go with Donald Trump. But there's more to it than that. We should acknowledge that there are some Americans who don't agree with Donald Trump 100% of the time. I happen to know some of them. And I want to speak to them tonight. My message to them is simple. You don't have to agree with Trump 100% of the time to vote for him. Take it from me, I haven't always agreed with President Trump. But we agree more often than we disagree. We agree on keeping America strong. We agree on keeping
that is
America
Nikki Haley, probably
safe.
the person who had the most to lose, I guess, from a Trump nomination. I have my particular thoughts about her speech, but I'll ask you first, Mike.
Yeah, I'm listening to her to say, "Oh, these are bad, so we have to vote for Donald Trump." It sounds like a double negative. I mean, it's like, okay, why not say, he's the greatest president. He brought us up to December of 2019. Then she says, I know some people that don't like him. You know what I'd say if I was on that stage? Everybody loves our president. Some just don't know it yet.
I'm surprised at how emotional that Donald Trump seems about her speech. She got booed first when she came out. She got some cheers when she called for unity. I just wonder what Nikki Haley's getting out of this, because Nikki Haley probably look. She's a total uniparty shill. And even when she was at the UN as Trump's UN ambassador, I remember distinctly covering the UN General Assembly one year, and there was an Israeli ambassador to the UN named Danny Danon. He's now one of the heads of the Knesset party. He's the one who's suggesting that our country should take in all the refugees from Palestine in this displaced.
What?
Yes.
Wow.
Danny Danon told me outside of the not Newsmax, it was One American News studio in New York, that it's not Donald Trump who should be president. And this was while he was actively working to create the Abraham Accords to benefit Israel.
Wow.
Danny Danon said that Nikki Haley should be president. And whenever a foreign power like that, whoever it is, that they, someone else, and it was really her implementing Trump's policy. Mm-hmm. And I will also never forget the day that she left the administration. She was fired. You know how I know?